The Beach FM Business Lunch Show, brought to you by PlaceMakers Kapiti Horowhenua. Together we're building New Zealand.
Welcome back to the Business Lunch Show on Beach FM 106.3 with Damian. Now let's talk collectibles now, and let's talk a business that you've probably driven past many a time in your lifetime. Let's talk to John Mowbray from Mowbray Collectibles. G'day, John.
G'day, Damian.
How are you doing at this time, my man?
We're very good, Damian. Very good. Lovely sunny day, and great to be out there.
Fantastic. Now, collectibles is a pretty niche, special thing that a lot of people have, I'm sure, kind of taken for granted over the years. You know, you think back to maybe I should have held on to something and it would have been worth something now. But you've been in the business a long time, and what I like to do on the show is just get a history from the person. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the business?
Yeah, sure, Damien. I've been in business for 55 years. I started collecting when I was a young boy, about 8, and when I got to college, I started swapping stamps and enjoyed the trading of it more than the collecting in many ways. And so I sort of slowly evolved into dealing in it. And by the time I left university with my degree, I actually never went looking for a job because the business had grown to such an extent that was my obvious job, and I've been in it ever since. And it's changed a lot, of course, with the fax machine and the internet and everything. It's meant basically that the collectors of today are people that we've had for a long time, or of a certain generation, and younger people today are not exposed to stamps like they used to be, so they tend to have other interests rather than stamp collecting. So we're actually concentrating on a fairly finite age group of people. That's people sort of generally 60 plus, but there's a lot younger than that collecting stamps. But the main group is in that area, and that's really never changed since I was first started dealing, and it's constantly changing the way we contact these people, of course, with the mail system being so unreliable. But the collecting habits haven't changed, and we're there to serve them.
Amazing. It was something that I definitely did when I was younger. It was something I shared with my papa, our stamp collection, and I actually had a lot of his postcards from the wars and stuff. So it's a pretty special thing that is. I mean, do we even have stamps these days? And will they be worth anything in the future?
Good question. Yes, we do have stamps, and you still can use stamps on the mail. Of course, a lot of the mail doesn't have stamps these days. Will they be worth anything in the future? Who knows? I've been around, as I say, in the business for 55 years, and I've seen stamps, some rare stamps, just increase in value constantly, and they keep going up in value every time they're offered on the market. So there's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, you've got relatively common stamps, which everybody already has, and they tend to not go up in value.
So what makes a stamp so valuable? Tell us how they grade it, kind of thing.
Well, it's just straight out supply and demand, Damien. If there's 3 stamps and only 2 people collect it, then that's an oversupply. 2 stamps and 3 people collect it, then it's undersupply, and that's what forces the price up. So it's just purely the number of people looking to buy that particular stamp. And of course, you can have stamps which are very rare, but very few people collect that country. So these stamps are not as rare, say, as a country which produces far more stamps but has far more collectors. And so there's a rarity factor there, and that pushes their prices up.
And I'm sure historic event would have something to do with something like that?
That tends to, it's the usage of the stamp rather than the stamp itself.
Oh, okay.
Which tends to give the value in some of those instances. You can have very common stamps used on mail, which is very, very shall we say, intermittent and insecure, like prisoner of war mail or things like that. And so the entire stamp on its cover is worth far, far more than the stamp itself. In fact, the value of the stamp is irrelevant compared to the scarcity of the cover. So that's what we call postal history, and that's a very, very popular format of collecting.
So if it had, an amazing story with it, with prominence and everything, that would push up the value.
Absolutely, yes. It can make a world of difference. Many-fold increase in price.
And okay, so there's something that a lot of I know exactly where my box of stamps is from back in the day. But what kind of ones that we might have in our collection that you could ones that are sought after that no one really knows where they are, but they could be tucked away somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Damien, if I can put it this way, if you've collected stamps that have come in off the mail, the chances are that those stamps are very common because everybody's using them.
Of course, yeah. And
they're not rare. So the chances of childhood-type collections having rare stamps in them are very, very few and far between. It's when people start collecting on a serious note and start spending, significant money on their hobby that the rarity factor comes into play, and that's when stamps become valuable, because obviously they spend a lot of money buying them in the first place. So generally you do find stamps and collections that sometimes nobody knew existed, but it's a bit like having a winning lotto ticket. Yeah. It doesn't happen all the time. But last week we found a $40,000 stamp in someone's stamp collection which they didn't know existed, and that's they're very happy about that. So are we, but it doesn't happen every day.
No, but that's what I was getting at. Yeah, definitely. Handed down to, from the grandfather. You never know until you have a look. But it's not just stamps. You do have some old coins and medals on display and auction? We do. We auction stamps, medals, coins and postcards. Damien, that's our forte. And we sell to people all over the world. And in general terms, about 60% of our turnover actually goes to international people rather than New Zealand clients. Right. That's the scope of that. But we are an international business based in Otaki. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'd be down for if anyone had any interest or anything lying around that they thought maybe just maybe you'd pop down and you'd probably be able to bring some history to the objects.
Oh, look, Damien, we've got an open door. Anybody can pop in between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock, Monday to Friday. We're in Otaki on the main highway there. And just bring your stamps or coins in and we'll have a quick look at them, and we'll be able to advise you whether we can tell you whether they've got any value or not. We don't mind doing that at all. It's complimentary service, won't cost you anything, but at least you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's always the wonder. Hey, lastly, what we always like to do is just where can people find you and how can they get in touch? I know you've got different platforms that you use.
Yeah, well, they can get in touch with us online through Mowbray Collectibles, or they can phone us. Our phone number's in the phone book, but I'll repeat it here: 3648-270. Or they can call and visit us at on the main highway in Otaki, just opposite the BP station by the roundabout. Big building, mirror glass windows, you can't miss us. We've been there for 45 years, and we intend to be there another 45 years, God forbid. But we'd love to see people if they call in with their stamps.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, John. I will definitely dig out the box and come and see you and just to explore and hear some stories.
Yeah, good day. We've got 14 staff up here ready to help anybody that needs any advice.